Just Sneak is a place where films and series open up in a new way. Here, every plot surprises you, and every frame hides details that are easy to miss. If you enjoy watching movies more attentively than others, you're home. Get comfortable. There's a lot of interesting stuff ahead. Today, we're taking a look at the dark crime comedy by Alberto Lattuada, Mafioso, Italy, 1962. If you like what we do, support the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss new breakdowns. Thank you to everyone who's already with us. Your support helps the channel grow and makes the content even better. Hello, friends. Today we're looking at director Alberto Lattuada's black comedy Mafioso. Picture Italy in 1962, a country where the economic miracle of northern Italy is already in full swing. While in the south, a shadow still rules, a shadow you can't escape even in Milan. And it's in this crucible that Mafioso Italian, Mafioso appears, a black comedy by director Alberto Lattuada. The protagonist is an ordinary Sicilian, Antonio Badalamenti, nicknamed Nino, played by the inimitable Alberto Sordi. He's a model family man, a skilled worker at the Fiat factory, father to 2 blonde daughters, and husband to Marta, a woman from the north. It seems like an ideal life. But the moment he returns to his homeland, a tiny village called Calamo, everything is turned upside down. The film is only 100 minutes long, but in those minutes, Lattuada manages to do something Hollywood wouldn't dare attempt for another 10 years. Show the mafia not as romantic gangsters, but as an ordinary, suffocating reality. This isn't just a movie. It's a verdict and, at the same time, a laugh in the face of a society that preferred to look the other way. Context of creation and background. The idea was born during the height of the golden age of Italian-style comedy, 1960 to 1963. The country hadn't yet moved on from neorealism, but it was already tired of heavy dramas about post-war poverty. Producer Dino De Laurentiis, the king of Italian cinema, had signed an exclusive contract with Alberto Sordi, 3 films a year. Mafioso became the 6th in this series. The commercial calculation was ironclad. The screenplay was written by heavyweights, Age and Scarpelli, the same duo who later worked on The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, Marco Ferreri, and Raffaele Ascona. They took a real pain point in Italy, the divide between the industrial north and the backward south, and wrapped it in the guise of black humor. There were plenty of conflicts at the start, but not the kind that make newspaper headlines. De Laurentiis was taking a risk. In 1962, the mafia wasn't a cinematic myth, it was a real power. The Sicilian clans had just gone through their first major war. Murders were in the news. Making a comedy about a Don Vincenzo who helps with a land dispute and then asks for a favor, it was like joking about Cosa Nostra to its face. Studios whispered, "What if the censors kill it? What if Sicilians get offended?" But Latta, an anti-fascist since his youth, went all in. He always said, "All my films are an indictment of taboos, mistakes, and injustices." The project's idea was precisely that, to strike at the most sensitive spot in Italian society. The intrigues between studios and screenwriters were quiet but venomous. Ferreri, the future provocateur of La Grande Bouffe, brought his signature cruelty to the script. Age and Scarpelli softened it to avoid losing the comedic rhythm. De Laurentiis pushed deadlines. Sordi was supposed to be filming 3 movies simultaneously. No one wanted the film to turn into a heavy neorealist treatise. In the end, a hybrid was born that no one has been able to replicate since. But few people know that in the initial version of the script, the ending was even darker. After the murder, Nino was supposed to go mad and end up in a psychiatric hospital. Lattuada insisted on a more open ending, a return to the factory machine, because that is the real horror. A person's ability to swallow any evil and continue living as if nothing happened. The director and key participants, Alberto Lattuada, is a figure still underestimated outside of Italy. Born in 1914 into the family of a composer, he studied architecture but fell in love with cinema. An anti-fascist, founder of Italy's first film club, co-director of Fellini's debut Variety Lights. By 1962, his credits included The Bandit, Without Pity, The Overcoat, his masterpiece based on Gogol, and Anna All Alone. He could direct drama, erotica, and satire. There were fewer scandals in his career than in Fellini's, but there were enough. He was accused of eclecticism. One moment neorealism, the next light comedy. Well, Lattuada would retort, "I film what pisses me off." By 1962, he had already lived through the censorship of the fascist regime and post-war poverty. There were no personal dramas like alcoholism or high-profile divorces, a stable marriage to actress Carla Del Poggio since 1945. But inside him, a protest against imposed rules always simmered. It was this protest that made Mafioso possible. No conflicts with actors are recorded, but with the press, yes. Critics accused him of betraying neorealism. Lattuada would snap back. "I'm not betraying. I'm evolving." He and Sordi had worked together before and understood each other instinctively. Norma Bengal, a Brazilian, played the northern wife Marta, and it was genius casting. Her bewilderment in the Sicilian hinterland felt absolutely authentic. By that time, Alberto Sordi was already a superstar. Starting with bit parts in neorealist films, by the early 60s he had become Italy's leading comedian, the embodiment of the average Italian, a bit cowardly, fussy, but kind at heart. Sordi was known for his perfectionism. He could reshoot a single scene dozens of times to get the right inflection. On the set of Mafioso, he amazed everyone with his ability to switch instantly from comedic to tragic. This is especially visible in the scene where Nino receives the pistol from Don Vincenzo. Sordi acts with just his facial expressions. The smile freezes, his eyes glaze over, and we see something die inside the man. The filming process and behind the scenes, the shoot went surprisingly smoothly, without any major firings or boycotts. But there was tension. They filmed in real Sicily, in tiny villages where the locals still remembered the clan wars. Lattuada demanded absolute authenticity. Real accents, real food on the table, real suspicion in people's eyes. Sordi, a master of improvisation, drove everyone to hysterics, especially when playing the ideal family man who suddenly transforms into the Don's obedient soldier. The most difficult part was the New York sequence. Nino is transported across the Atlantic in a crate. Filming at the port, inside an actual shipping container, it was pure hell for the actor. But Sordi endured it. No replacements, no boycotts. Financing problems? De Laurentiis kept everything under control. Censorship? The film passed without a single cut. Surprising for 1962. Outside pressure? The Sicilian clans remained silent. Perhaps because the film showed the truth too accurately. The mafia isn't romance. It's the everyday reality you can't escape. There's a legend that during filming in a Sicilian village, locals who learned the plot tried to drive the crew away. Police had to intervene. But Lattuada didn't give up. He simply moved filming to another village where the clans were less influential. There were also rumors that certain people called De Laurentiis, asking him not to make them look ridiculous. The producer replied, "It's a comedy. It makes everyone laugh, including you." And the calls stopped. Plot and film structure with light hints. Nino goes home on vacation. He takes his northern wife and daughters. He meets his parents, his sister with her mustache problem, old friends. Everything seems nice and funny. A classic comedy of cultural clash. But then Don Vincenzo appears. "Help me with this land issue, and I'll help you." And suddenly Nino, an excellent shot, receives a small task. A flight to New York, one shot, and back to Milan, to the assembly line and dinner with the family. The film masterfully shifts tone. The first 40 minutes are a sunny comedy. The last are cold noir. This contrast is achieved not only through the script, but also through visual choices. In the Sicilian scenes, cinematographer Armando Nannucci uses bright, almost washed-out colors, lots of sun, open spaces. As soon as the action moves to New York, the color palette becomes gray, gloomy, dominated by shadows and enclosed spaces. It's a deliberate technique. America isn't the land of freedom. It's the same prison as Sicily, only colder. Themes: the divide of Italy into two countries. The mafia as a parallel power. And the most terrifying thing, how an ordinary person swallows a crime and continues living as if nothing happened. All of this echoes the real scandals of those years. Sicilian clans were already stretching their tentacles into America, while Italy pretended it's only in the South. Particularly powerful is the scene where Nino returns home after the killing, sits down to dinner, and tells his wife they have great pizza in New York. This mundane detail is a brilliant touch. The man has just killed someone and he's thinking about pizza, or more precisely, pretending nothing happened. It's in this scene that Sordi reaches the peak of his acting prowess. He's eating spaghetti, and the viewer watches his soul turn to stone. Intrigue surrounding the release. The premiere on October 25, 1962, in Italy was triumphant. The film won the Golden Shell at San Sebastian. Best Film of the Year, critics wrote. Lattuada did what no one else dared, showed the mafia without pathos. Audiences laughed and shuddered simultaneously. In the US, the film was released quietly in 1964, then vanished for 40 years. Here's the real scandal: a masterpiece simply forgotten. Why? Firstly, the American distributor released a cut version, removing many too Italian scenes and replacing the music. Secondly, in the 60s, America wasn't ready for this view of the mafia. It wanted the romance of The Godfather, not a black comedy about conformity. When Rialto Pictures released a restored version in 2006, 2007, critics at the New York Film Festival exploded. This is the best mafia movie before The Godfather. Martin Scorsese personally thanked the restorers and named Mafioso one of the key films influencing his work. In an interview, he admitted that the bar murder scene in Goodfellas was directly inspired by the finale of Mafioso. No lawsuits, no boycotts, but there were real consequences. Sordi confirmed his status as the emperor of Italian cinema. Lattuada proved he could be both commercial and sharp. The film was included in the list of 100 Italian films that changed the country's collective memory. Interesting facts and dirty details. Lattuada personally chose Sordi precisely because only such a face would make the audience forgive an unsolved crime. Did Sordi and Lattuada hate each other? No, they worked like clockwork. The real hatred was between the North and the South within the film, and that mirrors the real Italy. The New York scenes were filmed with real flair. Elvis on a poster, Sophia Loren on a billboard, all for atmosphere. Piero Piccioni's music in the American part is pure jazz punch. Interestingly, Piccioni wrote two completely different themes. For Sicily, traditional tarantellas. For America, cold jazz with bebop elements. This musical contrast works as powerfully as the visual one. There were almost no deleted scenes, but one detail remains in legends. Lattuada wanted to show Nino trembling after the murder even more harshly, but the producers said, "Enough, the audience is already in shock." However, the scene where Nino enters a church in New York and tries to pray, but can't. His lips move, but no words come out, remained in the final version and is one of the most powerful scenes. A secret connection? A secret connection? The film anticipated The Sopranos. They also bring hitmen from Italy in crates. And yes, Don Vincenzo is based on real Sicilian bosses of those years, particularly Genco Russo, who controlled entire areas of Sicily in the 50s. Russo died of natural causes in 1976. But his likeness is clearly visible in Ugo Addonazio's character. Expert analysis. What turned out brilliantly, despite the absence of chaos. The tonal shift. The film starts like Divorce Italian style, and ends like a Don Siegel noir. That's mastery. A failure, only in that it was underestimated across the ocean for decades. The scandals, or rather, their absence, only enhanced its perception. The film passed censorship and won prizes, meaning the truth was too accurate to ban. Why did it become a cult film? Because it showed the mafia isn't exoticism, it's a system anyone can get caught in. It destroyed the romance of gangster cinema and paved the way for The Godfather. It was never truly forgotten. It was just waiting for its moment. Contemporary film scholars note that Mafioso is also a film about globalization. Nino travels from the backward South to the industrial North, then to America, and everywhere he encounters the same system of subordination. At the factory, he's a cog. In the village, he's a cog. In the mafia, he's also a cog. Freedom is an illusion. Lattuada anticipated the theme of the one-dimensional man, which would become central in the critique of mass society in the 60s and 70s. Conclusion. Mafioso is not just a movie from 1962. It's a cultural phenomenon that still strikes a nerve. Lattuada didn't destroy anyone's career, he built them. Sordi became a legend. De Laurentiis made money. Italy finally looked at itself in the mirror and laughed through tears. This film changed the industry. It proved that black comedy could be sharper than any drama. It showed that the mafia isn't somewhere out there, but inside each of us, if the system demands it. Watch it today, And you'll understand why, 60 years later, it still burns, because some favors never end. And Nino Badalamenti still trembles somewhere inside each of us. In a world where conformism has become the norm and crime has become commonplace, Mafioso remains a necessary reminder. The horror isn't in monsters. The horror is in ourselves, in our readiness to close our eyes and go to work, pretending nothing happened. It's a warning film, one that, sadly, is as relevant as ever. This was your film reviewer. Leave a like if you want more stories about controversial films. Subscribe so you don't miss new episodes, and tell me in the comments whether this film was interesting to you or not.